about it day and night. I feel like a king, oh yeah. And baby, can't help but stare. Such a rush, baby. Oh, when you touch me, baby. Such a rush, baby. Ladies and gentlemen, guys and dolls, cats and chicks, you're listening to Viva ENT. This is Johnny The Capo. I am your host. My co-host today is Mr.
Devin the cameraman.
Devin the cameraman Creisler, and the greatest producer in all of show business.
Hey, it's Eric.
CC Rider. Did I jump the gun on that?
Nah, you were fine.
Oh, good.
I just, for some reason, didn't have that patched into my headphones.
Oh,
so
well, that's always
that was a little weird.
That's always a plus.
And we're live.
Yeah, we're live.
So
and
things can go wrong.
Yeah, that's cool. I like live, and I like just getting in there and doing it. Beautiful day in Seattle, ladies and gentlemen. We're looking out from the fifth floor in Factoria, and we're a little bit elevated because we're up on a hill, and we got a great view of downtown Seattle from here, and of course the traffic. And today's topic is pop hits, rock, pop, and R&B, just like our group, 1974. So we're going to talk about all the hits from 1974. I want our listeners to, I want to let you know about our group, which is Viva ENT Talk Radio, Rock, Pop, and R&B, which is on Facebook, which you can join. And basically, it's all about rock, pop, R&B from 1956 to present day. You can post what you like, videos, pictures. There's a lot of chat about your favorite artists, favorite groups, and favorite singers, and all that type of stuff. We're up to 566 members, and we're growing. We're growing by the week. So let me think here. What else did I want to say? Okay, yeah. Remember, this program is sponsored by Vegas Nights, which is a casino entertainment company which features blackjack, craps, poker, and roulette. And we take the casino tables to private events, corporate weddings, school senior grad parties, big Microsoft parties, whatever. We can do parties as little as 50 people to 500 people. So Vegas Nights, 206-276-7592. Website is Viva, Viva-Productions with an S.com. Now, enough of that. We're going to go straight into our show now. And in 1974, the number one record was The Way We Were. And
Barbra Streisand. And not only was the record... not only was it a great performance by Barbara, but the movie was a huge hit. Robert Redford was her co-star in that movie, and it was one of those tearjerker movies about love and all that stuff. And it was a great movie. I remember seeing the movie, and Barbara looked great in that movie. And the vocal performance on that record is one of her finest performances. She has the voice of an angel. No question about that. Any comments about that song, Devin?
Oh, it's
Are you familiar with it?
Yeah, I am.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Tell us what you know.
Oh, Barbra Streisand. She made her number one debut. That's a really big song. That's
huge. Are you a Streisand fan, CC Rider?
I can't say that I am, and especially not that great. Not that particular song,
okay.
And Feelings doesn't do much for me either. But, again, as I always say, you got to respect the talent.
Right.
Clearly, Barbra Streisand is a very talented actress and singer. It's just not my cup of tea,
Right. I get it.
Yeah, I agree with Eric. I wouldn't listen to her. But she does have some really good songs that she's influenced culture.
I think with Streisand, you're either a fan or you're not. That type of thing.
Yeah, she's a powerhouse vocalist, very talented, and deserves her success, I would say. But
again. It's not something that I would put on.
I was lucky enough to see her. Listen to this one. I've been around a long time, man. I'm from Vegas. I seen her open up the International Hotel in 1969, way before you guys were born. I think I was about 17.
Wow.
And she opened up the International Hotel in Vegas, which at that time had the biggest showroom in Las Vegas. She opened it up. They actually gave her the nod to open up the hotel over Elvis. Because
Wow.
Elvis followed her in August. Now, up until about that time, Streisand was hot with Funny Girl, and she was probably really hot in her career at the time, and of course Elvis was making his comeback, and so when they went to sign the contracts, probably late 1968, they chose Streisand over Presley, which turned out to be the wrong decision by far, because Elvis just came into Vegas and just tore it up, for years to come. Now the next song, the number 2 song, Seasons in the Sun.
We had joy. We had fun.
Yeah.
We had seasons in the sun.
Yeah.
But the wine, like the song, and the seasons are all gone.
That's correct.
Terry Jacks, one-hit wonder, but what a huge hit.
It was a huge hit, and they played the hell out of it, and it was one of those songs that just kept going and going and going and going and going.
And, of course, kind of local in the sense he's from British Columbia.
Yeah.
So, good for him.
Since we were 9 or 10.
Yeah.
Together we've climbed hills and trees.
9 or 10.
Learned of love and ABC. Skinned our hearts and skinned our knees. Goodbye, my friend, it's hard to die.
So a little bit melancholy, kind of a sad subject matter for a hit song, but it's got its charms for sure.
Kind of like Tell Laura I Love Her type thing.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, remind me, I'm going to start doing that song just for fun. I used to do it all the time, way before Pearl Jam did it, and it's kind of a cool tune. People know it.
Yeah, they do.
Tell Laura I Love Her. Remind me to put that in my repertoire, will you?
Will do.
Devin. Okay, so moving on to Love's Theme. That was actually a Barry White composition.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and of course he's known for his amazing baritone voice, but he also had some great instrumental hits. And,
yes.
And really the earliest days of disco are starting to happen by 74.
That's
or
correct.
Stuff like this.
Love Unlimited Orchestra.
Yeah. And, a lot of people in 1974, 73, that quadraphonic stereo had came out. And you could actually buy an album in quad.
Wow.
You guys remember that? Is that before your time?
So this is like mixing it for 4 different channels, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So in other words, people had 4 different speakers, and it would be like stereo.
How popular was that?
Not very.
Not very. It's kind of like the 5.1 mix of its day.
Yeah.
So these days you can get a 5.1 mix of lots of classic albums, and I'm sure it's quite an experience to have 5 different speakers with 5 different sounds around the room. But most people don't go that far as far as getting into music. But I'm sure it was a cool thing.
Yeah. Well, that song in Barry White's Love Unlimited Orchestra kind of inspired the quad thing, because it was highly orchestrated, lots of strings, a lot of melodic stuff going on, and they would make a quad, it would be popping all over the room, So it was
early surround sound.
Early surround sound, yeah, absolutely right there.
Was there 8 tracks around yet?
I'm not. 8 tracks. Yeah, 8 tracks was around for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then of course we're going to go on to probably one of the coolest tunes in the top 10. And when we say the top 10, we're talking about the top 100 records of the year.
That's right.
So there was a lot more than 100 hits in that year.
Yeah.
But these were the biggest hits, meaning that they placed more weeks in the Billboard Hot 100 than any other songs.
That's right.
And most
so not all of them were necessarily number ones,
right?
But they were on the charts long enough to be in that final top 100. So
correct.
These were the biggest songs of the year.
Right, and probably most of the songs in the top 20 did hit number one.
Based on the most records sold and 8-tracks sold and all that combined.
Yeah, the whole shooting shebang. And basically...
And airplay.
Yeah, airplay, and then mostly with Billboard, it was like chart position. So if you held on to that chart position, it just brought you up higher in the stats, for the most part.
Yeah, and so at number 4, Redbone's "Come and Get Your Love."
Come and Get Your Love.
Great song. And
cool song.
Nice to see Native Americans represented in the charts. Redbone, of course, a band made up of Native American brothers.
Correct.
And their associates. And "Come and Get Your Love," big song at the time.
Big song. Baby, get your love.
So huge song in 1974, but of course it's kind of come back into the public consciousness recently again with it being included on the Guardians of the Galaxy soundtrack, and also used in the Netflix series F is for Family. It's the theme song. So we're hearing this one quite a bit once again. Whereas I don't know about Seasons of the Sun, if that's getting quite the resurgence in popularity, but
no. But Redbone, "Come and Get Your Love." Is that a song you dig?
Oh yeah, I love that song.
Yeah, it's pretty hard not to like.
Kind of irresistible.
And that song caught on with the Latinos and the R&B people, and it just was a big hit. Everybody loved it. And so now we're going to, I'll tell you all about the next song, number 5, "Dancing Machine," Jackson 5. Do you have that queued up a little bit, Eric?
Jackson 5 and number 5 song.
Jackson 5, number 5 song of the year 1974. "Dancing Machine" is when they,
She's a dancing machine.
Oh, baby.
I know a lot of the Jackson 5 hits, but this one I'm not terribly familiar with.
This was a song where they started evolving away from the bubblegum ABC type thing, and were more or less trying to go to the next step as being more of a novelty type thing, like they kind of were in a way, kind of like the Osmonds. They were
because they were kids.
Yeah, it was teeny bopper type stuff. So they were trying to graduate from the teeny bopper type image up and this "Dancing Machine" was really a great song, And this is the song that where Michael Jackson did the robot, and made that popular.
He was breaking out as a talented dancer even back then.
Exactly. So they kind of broke up shortly after, and Michael Jackson was pretty much on his own pretty much shortly after this song. And then I think he had a couple of solo records in 74, or maybe it was 75. I'm actually thinking it was 74. Ben and Rockin' Robin he scored hits with.
Right.
He was a teenager by then?
Oh, he's a teenager throughout the whole thing. He started out about 69, 70. He was 12. So by the time 1974 came around, he's probably 13, 14, 15, something like that.
Yeah. I like number 6, though, the Locomotion.
Speaking of dancing,
Grand
the
Funk?
Locomotion was a dance, and the Little Eva originally had a big hit with it, and then Grand Funk comes along in 74, covers it. Maybe a kind of an odd choice, I think, for them to do, a kind of a poppy dance song from the 60s. But, this song is a hit, seems like, every time somebody does it.
Motion like a railroad train now. So now, Grand Funk at that time, and I think I said it last week too, because they had a hit in '73. I think it was We're an American Band.
Yeah.
And Grand Funk started getting the taste of having hit records on the radio, because when they first hit the scene, the national scene, they didn't really have any hits on the radio, and they were scoring big albums because they were getting the FM play we talked about, a couple weeks ago. So Grand Funk was now enjoying having records played on the radio, on AM and FM radio at the time, and Locomotion went number one for Grand Funk, and so after Locomotion and We're an American Band, they turned out some pretty good hit records, right to about the end of their cycle, which I think was about 66, 67-ish, something like that. But when things started kind of changing a little bit. But yeah, Locomotion, number one 3 times. Little Eva, Grand Funk, and Kylie Minogue.
Kylie Minogue, yeah. I mean,
Minogue.
Yeah, and she, of course, has had a massive career. So, and we wouldn't have necessarily thought that here in the Locomotion back in the 80s. But, yeah, I mean, for a kind of a corny song, it really has stood the test of time and being a hit 3 different times.
A Carole King, Jerry Coffin song.
Yeah.
And, the thing about Locomotion, the Grand Funk version, and I don't know if you can cue up to the lead guitar, I loved the way Mark Farner played lead guitar. Matter of fact, my style of playing is kind of a Mark Farner, Stevie Ray Vaughan type style. But that was he come up with the worst lead on Locomotion. Oh yeah, let it play. I got to hear this. And Grand Funk fans, Farner fans, I love him. But the lead on this song, listen to this. Tell me what you think, Eric. Come on, baby. Okay, here it comes. Okay, you're a guitar player. Listen up.
Yeah, it's it's interesting. I'll give it that. But I'm not so sure that song needed a solo.
Something a little more different. I don't know what the heck he was.
They were trying to make it rock, and
I don't know what the hell he was thinking of, but
not quite Led Zeppelin.
Anyway, the song went number one, so who am I to judge?
Right.
Number 6. Yep.
And then number 7 of The Sound of Philadelphia. And this, of course, was the song that was the theme song for Soul Train.
Yeah.
MFSB.
Yeah, very.
I like this song. I still like it.
It's hard not to like, actually.
But yeah, it started off every edition of Soul Train with Don Cornelius.
And then, that was a great song, and that was one of those tunes that they mixed in quad too, because it had so much stuff going on with it.
Again, the early days of disco had some pretty fun stuff.
It was starting to. Disco was evolving in '74, and then of course when it hit, all hell broke loose, and it pretty much ruled the charts for the next 5 years or so.
Yeah, exactly.
I know, because I was at the time I was a young guy playing in a band, and I was a rocker. I was Doobie Brothers and so on and so forth. That was the type of stuff we were playing, and then disco came in and just kind of like knocked all the rock and roll artists out. And it was nothing but disco, And I even wrote a song called last of the Red Hot Rockers, and it was about disco. Forget about disco. I'm still rocking. Types.
So taking the opposite tact as Wild Cherry.
Yeah.
That decided that they would write a song about being a rock band that decides to go disco.
Yeah, exactly. But the cool thing about disco is being a young man at that time in my early 20s, and you wanted to go out to a nightclub, and girls, when you went to nightclubs in Vegas and you went up and asked someone to dance, most of the time they say no, especially if they didn't know you. But when disco came along, everybody was dancing. And all of a sudden, the answer was okay. So that's the way that kind of went.
Saturday Night Fever.
Yeah. Oh man, that was a phenomenon.
Yeah, and of course we'll talk way more about that as we make it to 75, 76, 77.
Absolutely.
When the disco thing really took over. But back in 74, it was still quite an eclectic mix of rock, pop, soul, which I think is a healthier thing. Like I like a lot of the disco stuff, especially these early things. But when it became ubiquitous, when it became every single thing, like even the commercial jingles is disco, it became kind of wearing, because it was just a formula that got pounded into the ground.
Exactly. And at the end of the disco formula, they were burning disco records in the United States.
That's right.
Wow.
Yeah, they were having. We've had enough.
I tell you one that I would have rather burned if I was of record burning age, to coin a phrase, back in 74 would have been Ray Stevens' The Streak at number 8.
Call me the Streak.
Yeah, which a novelty song, but one that I think just kind of grates, to be honest.
Well, but, all his songs, his hits were pretty much novelties. You don't even like his a good song.
Does he have a good song?
Well, everything is beautiful. I don't think you like that one either.
No. That was number 1. 72, I think.
Something like that.
Yeah, not good. Yeah. But I do kind of like number 9, Elton John's Benny and the Jets.
Love it. I love it. That's a great song. Vocals are great. Arrangement's great. Elton at his best.
When I worked at Radio Shack, we'd play this one, Benny and the Jets, and be like, Benny, Benny.
Mm-hmm.
This is one that confused me for a long time because they've got crowd sounds mixed into it. So I thought, this is interesting that he had a live single go really big. Because normally, just like, Peter Frampton scoring that big, Frampton Comes Alive, live recordings don't often make the charts. But
Correct.
Turns out they faked it with this song. They just mixed in some live audience sounds, so it sounds like the song is live, even though it was a studio creation.
Correct.
And again, not entirely sure what he's singing about with this particular song, but there's no denying that it's a great song.
Great pop record and very contagious. Everybody in the hall singing.
Yeah, exactly.
Now the number 10 song, I don't even remember hearing this song.
One Hell of a Woman by Mac Davis.
I don't know how.
I don't remember this at all. Let's refresh our memories a little bit.
I like Mac Davis, but I don't remember this song.
She's a woman. She's a baby. She's a witch. She's a lady.
Did he say she's a witch?
Yeah.
She's a free and gentle spirit. She can be what she
All right, I can kind of see why we've collectively forgotten about this song. It's not exactly a classic, but I'm really
shocked.
That it was this big. Yeah.
Shocked. Maybe it's one of those tunes that stayed in the top 100 forever, and they just kept playing it. It wasn't really a big, but they kept playing it week after week after week. That's the only explanation I have. And I'm a Mac Davis fan. I like Mac Davis. I like his work.
Yeah, I don't mind his voice. I just don't think that song is particularly good. But, to each their own.
Yeah.
Somebody must have liked it. Number 10 song of 74.
Well, let's don't forget Mac wrote a lot of big hits. He wrote In the Ghetto, Don't Cry Daddy, A Little Less Conversation, Watching Scotty Grow.
Okay, all those are great songs. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Oh, yeah, the Elvis one,
Yeah, 3 of them for Elvis. And, okay, so let's move on. And now the number 11 song.
Aretha Franklin.
I don't remember that song either.
I'm with you.
And I
until
was
you
there
come
in
back.
74, pal.
Until you come back to me. Let's hear a little bit. Again, just kind of a so-so song from Aretha.
I was there in 74, man. I listened to the radio like religiously. It was my thing. And of course I remember the song very vaguely, but to be the number 11 song of the year.
Yeah, and Aretha Franklin, of course,
Queen of
not
Soul.
to diss her at all, because she's responsible for so many classics. It's just surprising that there's one that we don't even really think about anymore,
I've heard the song, but
especially when it was that big a hit.
I really pretty much thought that was kind of like an album cut.
Yeah, and her covers of like Eleanor Rigby, and she's in the Blues Brothers, and
She was great in the Blues Brothers. Well, I love Aretha. I mean, she's a legend, no question.
But our next hit, Jungle Boogie.
Jungle Boogie, I love Jungle Boogie.
Cool and the Gang.
Yeah. Great song.
Yeah, you can't argue with this. Just nice and funky and fun.
Mm-hmm. Real cool. Jungle Boogie.
Makes you think of Pulp Fiction.
Yeah. I remember, when the movie Pulp Fiction came out, it was so different. I went to see it like 4 days in a row.
That's another one that had a great soundtrack that brought a lot of songs back into the public consciousness that people hadn't thought about for a while.
Well said, sir. Well said. Okay, Show and Tell, Al Wilson. Yeah, I do remember that. It was a good record. It was a big hit.
Well, we're kind of skipping ahead, because at number 13, you told me before the show one of your favorite songs of all time.
Oh,
and
yes.
I really like this one too, Maria Muldaur, Midnight at the Oasis. And I find it shocking that she didn't have a lot more hits, because I think she had a fantastic voice, beautiful woman, and this is a great song.
Yeah.
Send your camel to bed.
A lot of feeling in her voice.
Shadows painting our faces. Traces of romance in our hands. Heaven's holding a half moon, shining just for us. Let's slip off to a sand dune real soon. Kick up a little dust.
Well, there's no question that that song is as clean can be.
Very civil.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's one that people still remember very vividly and still get some airplay here and there. Just a great tune.
I used to sing it all the time in the hallways wherever I was walking. And, I'd bust out into Midnight in the Oasis, for sure. What else do we got here, kids?
Stylistics, You Make Me Feel Brand New.
That was a big
Al
hit.
Wilson, Show and Tell.
Big hit.
Number 15. That was a huge hit. Jim Stafford, Spiders and Snakes is kind of a fun song.
Novelty type song. I saw Jim Stafford perform at the MGM Hotel in Las Vegas. He was opening for a bigger name. I'm thinking maybe Dean Martin or somebody. And I was... he got up, he's playing a Las Vegas showroom, and he did a one-man band thing.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't believe it. He's sitting down on a chair with a guitar, and he's pounding a snare, a kick drum, and he's popping a snare here and grabbing a tambourine here and there, and he did his whole show as a one-man band in Vegas. It was incredible.
I bet that was amazing to see.
It was amazing to see.
She said, do what you want to do. I got silly and found a frog in the water by a hollow log, and I shook it at her, and I said, this frog's for you.
I don't like spiders.
She said, I don't like spiders and snakes, and that ain't what it takes to love me.
Yeah, cool song. He was around for a little while. I saw him perform in Vegas, and I'm going to say this with all due respect. He had a lot of cojones to get up there and do that act in Vegas, because in Vegas they will crucify you.
Indiana Jones likes that song.
Does he?
He doesn't like spiders or snakes.
Yeah, it's a fun song. You know, I'm not as shocked that he didn't have more hits as I am with Maria Mulder. I'll put it that way. You know, it's not a bad tune, but yeah. I can kind of see the limitations to his career there. But another guy that had maybe some limitations to his career, but still managed to turn in a classic song, David Essex,
yeah.
Rock On. And of course, he was an English actor and just kind of scored this hit. But I always thought this was an interesting one because the arrangement is so strange and sounded like nothing else on the radio.
Yeah.
Hey, did rock and roll, rock on, ooh, my soul. Hey, did you boogie do, did ya? Hey, shout, summertime blues, jump up and down in the blue suede shoes. Hey, did you rock and roll, rock on?
I always thought that it reminded me of an Elvis type feel.
Yeah,
and
it's definitely kind of a song about that nostalgia of the 60s and 50s of the love of rock and roll, you know. And we were talking about that either last week or the week before of a bunch of songs in the early 70s that were really thinking about the experience of loving rock and roll in the 50s and 60s when songwriters from the 70s were growing up, getting into music.
Yeah. And you know, the thing about this song, the David Essex song, is when it came out, I thought, when I first heard it, I thought it was like one of the coolest songs I ever heard.
Great bass line.
Yeah.
It's got a great bass line. It's got those really interesting violins and stuff on it. Again, it sounded like nothing else on the radio. And really, this is his only hit. He's mainly an actor. And then, of course, in the 80s, then this guy, Michael Damian, also a pretty boy actor, comes along, redoes the song, scores a hit with it, and this is essentially his only hit as well. It's the cover of Rock On. So I think there may be, you might want to think that through if you're an actor trying to break into music. Maybe don't do Rock On because
it was the end.
That's the end of it, yeah.
You know, and of course, being from Vegas, I met Michael Damian, and right when he had the hit out, matter of fact, I was dealing craps at the Tropicana Hotel, and he came right up to my crap table and bought in and started playing, and I started talking to him about, you know, the song. And at the time, he was on a soap opera called The Young and the Restless.
Wow.
Yeah. So he was an actor too that scored with a similar situation.
Just like David Essex in the 70s, but this was the 80s.
Yeah, and he was real he was real popular with that song, and he was kind of a pretty boy type thing, you know. But yeah, I met him briefly back in the day.
Well, not a pretty boy. John Denver at number 18. Sunshine on My Shoulders.
Not too pretty.
Sunshine on the water looks so lovely.
And this really didn't sound like a lot of stuff that was in the charts. I'm somewhat mystified, if I'm honest, by John Denver's success. Just that, he wasn't part of like the bigger music scene, and yet he was so popular. He was so ubiquitous. He was like on every, at least growing up as a toddler in the 70s, it seemed like you couldn't escape John Denver. He was on the Muppets, he was on Sesame Street. He was on, on talk shows and variety shows. He
all over the place, scoring big hits with,
folky numbers like that. Again, not my cup of tea, but a very talented guy. But when I think about it, just in context of all the other popular music at the time, I don't quite understand it.
I read you loud and clear, and I'll tell you something else that'll blow your mind. I think he was the top record seller in the business in 1975.
Wow!
Like in 1975, he was like the biggest selling male vocalist for sure.
And he appealed to country and all around
thank God I'm a country boy and. Whatever other hits
Country Roads and
he was,
but it really, his stuff didn't really sound like country music.
No,
at the time it sounded kind of folky,
very folky.
Yeah, and very
folky.
Yeah,
it's all folk,
anyway.
It's all folked up.
More power to him, and more power if you like John Denver. Good for you. There's
what
a
about
lot of
you?
great
What about
songs.
you, Devin? What do you think about John Denver?
I like him.
Yeah. I can't say I don't like him. I always thought he was. I always thought he was from Colorado because, I was born in Colorado and lived in Colorado till I was about 10. So I always thought the cat was from Colorado, but I don't think he was.
No, he wasn't from Colorado.
But he wasn't from Germany.
No, he German heritage.
Okay.
But he was born in Roswell, New Mexico.
There you go.
So he could have beamed in from outer space. I don't know.
He could have been. John Denver, planted in with that voice.
Now, do you remember number 19 at all, Blue Magic Sideshow? Because I don't remember it at all.
I do remember it. It charted much higher than, kind of like a Shy Lights type thing.
It'll only cost you 50 cents to see what life has done to those like you and me.
Yeah.
All right.
It was one of those records that, the program directors latched onto. And you know how it is, Eric. If a program director or the people that meet on Monday decide to play that record that week and they decide to play it again another week and another week, it becomes a hit.
Sure.
And I think that's one of those type of records.
Another slow one.
Yeah. And then,
compared to Hooked on a Feeling by Blue Suede.
Yeah, another kind of oddity.
Blue Suede, yeah.
Blue Suede, the Swedish band, of course, their cover of Hooked on a Feeling.
The B.J. Thomas hit.
Yeah, originally done by B.J. Thomas. And I like his version maybe a little better, but definitely an interesting interpretation by Blue Suede.
Is this the Hoomba Shaka thing?
When you hold me in your arms so tight, you let me know everything's alright.
Hoomba Shaka.
Hooked on a feeling, I'm high on believing.
I think that because it's such a great song, they were lucky enough to score a hit with it.
Yeah.
That's my. And it's been in a couple movies.
Yeah, no, this one has definitely had several comebacks, including being included on the Guardians of the Galaxy soundtrack.
Right. Hoomba Chaka, Hoomba Chaka.
I made fun of in Family Guy too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No kidding.
Well, it was on that '90s show with Callista Flockhart as well.
I remember that. Remember her.
Ally McBeal.
The skinny chick.
Yeah, Ally McBeal, that was a big show at the time, and that song was used for some reason in that quite a bit.
With all due respect to the actress, I never got how that show took off so big, but she was popular.
Yeah, it was kind of a interesting dramedy. I never actually watched an episode of it, but I remember it. I remember it being really big.
Before cable, there wasn't that many options, I guess.
No.
Well, that cable was around.
Yeah.
So the next song, of course, at number 21, Bo Donaldson and the Haywoods.
Yeah.
Billy, Don't Be a Hero.
Yeah.
Now, this song was a big hit in the UK by the band called Paper Lace.
Wow.
And then Bo Donaldson and the Haywoods covered the song real quickly to get it out in America and made it a hit over here. That happened a few times in rock and roll history.
Yeah, that happens kind of more often than you think.
Yeah. But Paper Lace ended up having a big hit over here, and I believe it was 74, too. I have to scan down a little further in the charts to find them. But I believe the night Chicago died, I think was
that was
Paper Lace, I believe.
I remember that.
So
I remember that song.
Not as big as the one next down to it, Band on the Run, Paul McCartney and Wings.
Band on the Run was just a great record that you wanted to sing all the time. And they played the heck out of it. It was just a great, clean, all together.
Kind of a long song to make the pop charts at over 5 minutes long.
McCartney was always doing
a couple
that.
Different movements to it.
3 songs in one, McCartney.
Yeah, and kind of based on Paul's experience getting arrested in Japan.
Oh, yeah, Band on the Run, that's right.
Having marijuana.
Yeah. Nice guitar licks.
Yeah.
Stuck inside these 4 walls, sent inside forever, never seeing no one nice again like you.
Cool. Very cool.
Yeah, and then it starts rocking a little bit later into the tune.
I love the song.
I think it's a great song. I think Wings were underrated.
Underrated, and they did nothing but good work through the entire time they were together.
Was Paul McCartney ever in a band before Wings?
No.
he had the talent. He could have done it.
He couldn't make it without Wings.
Charlie Rich, The Most Beautiful Girl. Number 23. Do you remember this one at all? Because again, this is one that's...
I sang this song probably for 5 or 6 years. It was a good hit. It was a big hit, and I could sing it well, so I kept it in my repertoire for half a dozen years, and kind of an Elvis type sound.
Hey, if you happen to see the most beautiful girl,
okay, now I remember this.
That walked out on me, tell her I'm sorry.
Tell her I need my baby.
Tell her I need my baby.
Yeah. So it was a good. When you're playing in a band in nightclubs, you want a song like that. Because if people aren't dancing, then they'll always come up and dance to the slow song, and that was one that you could always hook them on.
Speaking of slow songs, Jim Croce, Time in a Bottle.
Smash. Great production, great lead, great everything.
If I could save time
in a bottle.
This one still puts me to sleep. I remember dozing off to this as a kid and listening to AM radio, and still has that effect.
Been in a lot of movies, too.
Just to spend them with you.
Kind of, what I was saying about John Denver, I think the same thing kind of applies to Jim Croce. He was, maybe those two were a scene in themselves, kind of light acoustic pop.
Yeah, of course, Jim Croce.
Singer-songwriter.
Jim Croce's biggest songs were
Bad Leroy Brown, and what was the other one? You don't jump on Superman Escape. Or was that? Oh, you don't mess around with Jim.
That's right.
Yep.
I actually like that one a lot.
Yeah,
that was a fun tune.
Don't mess around with Jim. Or was it Slim?
That's right.
Was it Slim?
I believe it was Jim.
Okay.
But Olivia Newton-John, I think this may be the first time she made the big time charts. Let Me Be There, and I don't remember it.
Yeah.
I'll always want to be there.
I play this one too.
And standing by to catch you when you fall, seeing you through.
Considering the pop hits that she went on to have, interesting that she started off doing kind of country music.
Yeah.
Be there in your morning, let me be there in your night.
Actually, Elvis covered this song, and it was one of his concert. He kept it in his repertoire for 3 or 4 years, right up almost to the to the very end. He was still singing that song because it had that nice bass singers in it, and it had that little country rockabilly type sound. But yeah, it was a cool song, and they played the hell out of it,
Right.
and all the girls loved it. All the chicks were buying the Olivia Newton-John albums.
Skipping down the list, I like Nothing from Nothing, Billy Preston.
Great song.
That's a great song. I agree. All those Billy Preston hits
Nothing
from the
nothing
70s
is nothing.
were great, including this one.
Yeah.
We can play a little bit.
From nothing leaves nothing. You gotta have something if you wanna be with me. Oh yeah.
Now, that was number 37, and in between, we had hits from Gordon Lightfoot, Paul Anka, Andy Kim, Eddie Kendricks, who we talked about last week, Ringo Starr, You're 16, maybe not his best tune for sure, Olivia Newton-John again, Cher, Gladys Knight and the Pips, Roberta Flack, and The Main Ingredient. So definitely a lot of soft rock making the charts in 74.
In those days, 73, 74, until the disco hit, a lot of the top 100, top 40 songs were these type of songs because the heavier stuff was being played on FM.
Mm-hmm.
So for the first time, AM record, when the FM heavy stuff started hitting in the early 70s, now AM radio had competition because otherwise they were pretty much the only ones out there. I mean, their FM was out, but, hardly anybody was using it.
Yeah, they had to have the right radio to pick it up.
Exactly. So now the pop stations were really into this mode of this easy listening type stuff, and when you heard a song from Billy Preston, you go, "All right,
right," and nice change of pace.
Let's go, yeah.
George McRae, "Rock Your Baby" at 38.
Yeah, I remember
the
it.
Carpenters, "Top of the World." They definitely fit into that light rock or light pop.
They played the hell out of it, and
Steve Miller Band, "The Joker."
Yeah, great.
Number 40.
That was an enjoyable song to hear.
Play my music in the sun.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm a joker.
Yeah, what's
I'm a joker. I'm a midnight smoker, baby. So we got about 3 or 4 minutes left.
That's right.
So I want to next year tune in, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to go to 1975.
It's a big year.
Yeah.
Yeah, next week.
And of course, I want to talk about my group again, Viva ENT Talk Radio, Rock, Pop, and R&B.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I'm going to change the name of the group, believe it or not. And I've had this group a couple years. I'm going to change it to Viva ENT Talk Radio, Rock, Pop, and Soul. What do you think
All
about
right.
that?
I like it.
You like it?
Yeah, let's
I
do
like it better than the R&B. It flows better.
Agreed.
Rock, pop, and soul, baby.
And be sure to subscribe to Devin Creisler Studios. I got a ton of band videos, including Steve Miller Band.
Including my videos.
Yeah.
Oh, what do you got, 21 videos of me up there?
Yeah.
Johnny Capo and the Bad Boys? Johnny the Capo
Over
and the Bad
500
Boys.
videos on the channel. So.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Devin Creisler Studios.
And a few songs of 1974 that come to mind. Smoking in the Boys' Room.
Great song.
Station.
Yeah, the song that put eventually Motley Crue on the map was their cover of Smoking in the Boys' View. But probably I like the Brownsville Station version maybe a little better than theirs.
It was a cool song when it came out, I'll tell you that.
Yep.
Go ahead, Devin.
And The Air That I Breathe, the Hollies.
Great song.
Good song.
Good, yeah. That was cool to see the Hollies getting hits in the 70s.
Yes.
After doing some great work in the 60s, too.
Yeah, exactly. They had a lot of cool
Steely
woman,
Dan,
too.
probably their first big hit. Ricky, Don't Lose That Number, 51.
Steely Dan, had when they came into the scene, they were way different from any other band. You know, they're using really nice arrangements and using 11th chords. Nobody used 11th chords, for God's sakes. You know? And they were in 13th chords and augmented, suspended fourths and that type of thing.
Stevie Wonder, Living for the City.
Oh, great song.
Again, part of his, just completely unassailable 70s repertoire where I think he did probably his best work.
Yeah, no question about it. Remind me, I want to start doing Living for the City too, Devin.
It's a great song.
Write this stuff down.
Why don't we leave people today with the Hughes Corporation doing Rock the Boat? Because I think this is a great tune.
Got a quick story for you that when that song hit the radio, the Hughes Corporation was playing a small lounge in Las Vegas at the Circus Hotel. And I actually went in there and saw them play their hit. And it was a small lounge, small audience.
I remember Circus because they have one in Reno as well. I used to go there a lot as a kid. That they like the name implied, Circus. They had like circus acts. They had a music lounge. They had a casino. They had
everything,
all kinds of games for kids to play. It was a fun place.
It's the second time that happened to me because I saw the Carpenters in the Sands, a smaller lounge, when we've only just when the first hit came out, Close to You.
Nice. All right. Well, we're going to have to talk about 1975 next week, right?
75, baby. Elvis had a big hit in 75.
Very good. Well, let's rock the boat on out of here.
When love can see me through, our love is like the ship on the ocean. We've been sailing with a cargo full of love and devotion. So I'd like to know